What's up, guys? It is the next day and it is a lovely rainy morning. Guillermo's looking for the cricket that he lost. Have fun. Alright guys, so I realize I haven't given you an actual description of this book yet. So, The Vegetarian by Han Kang. This one came out it originally came out in 2007 in Korean, and then the English translation came out in 2015. So, it's been out for about 7 years now. I just read through part 1. It's split up into 3 parts. And so I can let you pause if you want to read the synopsis on your own. I'm also going to read it out loud because I realize I haven't told you what it's about. So it says, before the nightmares began, Yong Hai, I think I'm saying her name right because I did look it up, and her husband lived an ordinary controlled life. But the dreams, invasive images of blood and brutality torture her, driving Yong Hai to purge her mind and renounce eating meat altogether. It's a small act of independence, but it interrupts her marriage and sets into motion an increasingly grotesque chain of events at home. As her husband, her brother-in-law, and her sister each fight to reassert their control, Yong Hai obsessively defends the choice that's become sacred to her. Soon their attempts turn desperate, subjecting first her mind and then her body to ever more intrusive and pervasive violations, sending Yong Hai spiraling into a dangerous, bizarre estrangement, not only from those closest to her, but also from herself. In the synopsis, it also says it's Kafka-esque. Now, the only Kafka I've read was The Metamorphosis. I've not read many of his other famous works, so I don't know that I'm going to be able to pick up on the Kafka parts very easily, but we'll see. It says it's a tale of power, obsession, and one woman's struggle to break free from the violence, both outside and within her. So I'm very interested. We've kind of started off very slow and quiet, but also quite creepy, and I like that. It's a very slow unraveling. I've only read 50, I'm on page 50 something. Oh, 61. So I'm enjoying it so far. So I'm about halfway through. I thought I would just give you guys a quick update on The Vegetarian. I'm really liking it so far. The men in this book are trash. They're horrible. I'm not liking that aspect of it. They're very frustrating to read, very misogynistic, very selfish. Trigger warnings for all the things that a man can perpetrate against a woman. I didn't know it was going to go that dark. I didn't really know exactly what to expect. It does kind of make sense because the synopsis is very cryptic. So I love the way it's written. I will say some of the, since it is translated, some of the dialogue is quite stilted. You can definitely tell it's been translated. I can definitely relate as a vegetarian. There's a scene I finished recently where her family kind of all gathers around the table, and a lot of them don't quite understand why she would want to give up meat and why that would be something that it's like beyond comprehension for them. The things that they do to try to convince her to eat meat, they're not the nicest, so that's relatable. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday today, so it's going to be a work from home day for me. I'm out kind of early. It's not that early. It's like 8 a.m. I'm getting some coffee, and then I'm going to do some computer work and obviously try to squeeze in some reading later today.
Can I get a 12-ounce campfire latte with oat milk instead of like regular?
Okay. And can I get a name for your order?
Brandy.
Brandy. Okay. You're good to go.
Thank you.
I'll get you around the corner, okay?
It's so cold. This place is really cute. It's basically like a tiny house. Like it looks like a tiny house, but it's like a coffee shop. It's adorable.
Sorry about that late.
You're okay.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Alright guys, I am back home. Haven't even had a sip of my coffee yet because it's really hot. I think I already said this, but I am gonna try to get a little bit of writing done.
Oh, hello.
Oh, okay. Good evening, guys. I don't even remember where I left you last, but it is time for some reading. I've got a dark academia playlist on YouTube, which is usually my favorite thing to put up when I'm reading. I was on a lo-fi kick there for a while, like lo-fi jazz, but I've moved on to classical for now. It just kind of fits the fall season. So I had some really good dinner. I just made like stew, basically, like vegetarian stew. This book is split into 3 parts, and I just started part 3. So, probably not gonna finish it tonight. I think I still have like 100 pages, but I am gonna get to reading. Good morning. The sun is shining. It is freezing though. Guillermo is completely undisturbed by the temperature. I'm definitely gonna try to finish my book this morning. I think I'm like within 50 pages of finishing, so we'll see if it happens today. It's cold. Would start reading out on the balcony, but I think I'm gonna be too much of a wuss this morning. Siri said it was like 30 degrees, so I don't know that that's what I'm feeling this morning. What's up, guys? So I just finished the book and I've got to get ready to leave, so I figured two books with one stone. I figured I would knock out 2 birds with 1 stone and do my makeup and get ready while I give you guys a very short review of the book while it's kind of fresh on my mind. Obviously there'll be a full review in my November wrap-up. Once my thoughts kind of solidify, there's still, I mean, I literally just finished the book, so they're still kind of percolating, but I think the thing that makes this book so interesting was the fact that it was told from everybody's perspective except the main character. We don't really get her perspective. Like, it was very weird. We get these tiny little short chapters, like very brief descriptions of her actual thoughts, like from first person perspective. And everybody else who's like a family member, like there's the husband, there's like a brother-in-law, there's her sister, we get their perspectives instead. And so it's just kind of odd. Like, I kept waiting for one of those parts, because it was split up into 3. I kept waiting for one of those parts to be from her perspective so we could really understand what's going on inside her head. And we never got that. So I think that's, I mean, I'm definitely going to have to like kind of sit on that one. But I mean, that completely changes the way that you experience what she's going through and like the way that you perceive this experience that she's going through. It gets pretty weird in the end, not gonna lie. I think there's probably gonna have to be a trigger warning on this one for EDs. That kind of comes up later on. It definitely took a very weird turn that I was not expecting, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think I'm gonna give it probably like 4.5 out of 5 stars. It gets very abstract. There's a lot of things that have to do with trees later on in the story, like in like the 3rd part. I need more blush. I'm looking very pale. Overall, I mean, that whole third part was very abstract. It's making me wonder, like, is it all just a metaphor for something? I'm really gonna have to sit and think about it, because the more I try to like make it into something literal, the less it makes sense. I definitely think there's a metaphor in there for the way that the female body is perceived and the actions that are enacted upon it by various people. We just never get her perspective, and it makes her feel she's not heard basically throughout the entire, like, we never truly get to hear from her, see her fully formed. We just get this like wacky stuff that she's going through. I think it's going to be a tricky one to try to explain and review, so this is probably not all that helpful of a review, other than me saying it was very good and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I guess stay tuned for my November wrap-up. Maybe I'll have more collected thoughts by then. But I'm gonna go. You guys let me know what you're reading for November. What should I put on my TBR? And thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye.